Yes, sir.
We can or not?
Yes.
All right. All right, I'd like to call to order the Ratcliffe City Council work session for Monday, December 11th, 2023 at 5 p.m. held here at Ratcliffe City Hall and being streamed live on Facebook. If you will please rise for an invocation and remain standing for a pledge.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for your many blessings. We're thankful for the mayor and each city council person here. We're thankful for every day that you give us, Father, and the blessings of this season. Bless our service members, both here and abroad. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, here's Miss Owens. All right, so we don't have to have a roll call, but this is our last meeting of the year, work session of the year. So I'll put up with y'all till next year. So I guess we'll start. Murray, you got a lot on this agenda.
Yes.
I'll let you begin, sir.
Okay.
You got back here, Tim? Should be up wrong. There it is. No. Maybe the battery. There you go.
Okay, we have several items of business from the planning department for you all to consider. And the first one is an annexation ordinance for a portion of the property located at 5571 North Dixie Highway, Elizabethtown, Kentucky, PBA 182-40-00-032. And that annexation is from Dennis Mauser of Sugar Mill Properties LLC. And they're requesting an annexation of a portion of 5571 North Dixie Highway. The total area of the property proposed for annexation is 22,630.7 square feet. And the area proposed for annexation adjoins Heritage Meadows LLC property, which is actually to the south, which adjoins the Ratcliffe City limits to the south. And I've got a picture of that. So you can see the large tract in the center of the screen. It's the one that says 22,630.7 square feet on it. It's a little bit darker outline on it. It's kind of like long, skinny tract there to the top. But if you look at the larger tract that it adjoins, to the south of that is John Hardin High School's property, which is our existing city limit boundary. So it is contiguous once that is also annexed. So this would be contingent upon that other piece being annexed. So that's the first annexation. The second annexation is going to be also from Dennis Mauser of Sugar Mill Properties LLC, and that's for the property at 5511 North Dixie Highway. It's also, the last one was a portion of that property. This is also a portion of 5511, and it's 9,409.9 square feet. So it's the small kind of rectangular piece adjacent to the 22,000 square feet there. And again, it's contiguous via the large tract in the center of the screen. That brings us to the third proposed annexation, which if you look at the screen, it's the large kind of like square shaped piece of property. That's located on the west side of North Dixie Highway between its intersection with W.A. Jenkins Road and Les Dawson Road, Kentucky 220, being a part of 180 PVA 182-40-00-004.03, which is Carlisle Estates Lot 3A. David Greenberg of Heritage Meadows LLC is requesting the annexation of that property, and the total acreage of that property is 47.40 acres. And as I indicated before, to the bottom of the screen, it's a little bit hard to see because it's like a lighter gray, but it does say City of Radcliffe below that property, which is John Hardin to the south of it, the center of that square. We've included annexation ordinances with each of those. So, in addition to those 3 annexations, the Planning Commission considered 5 zone map amendments that were requested by Heritage Meadows LLC. And I'm going to go through each one of those in order that the Planning Commission considered them. The first zone map amendment, I'm going to show you on the screen there. It's just a small sliver of property inside that 47 acres. And they're requesting a zone map amendment from Hardin County C2 zone to a R6 zone. And that's for the portion of property located on the west side of North Dixie Highway between its intersection with W.A. Jenkins Road and Les Dawson Road, Kentucky 220. Heritage Meadows is requesting a zone map amendment for that portion of the property. The property is located in unincorporated Hardin County, and the proposed rezoning is contingent upon it being annexed into the City of Radcliffe. It's an existing C2, Hardin County C2, proposed R6 zone, and it's currently vacant. The area proposed for rezoning is only 126 square feet. That pretty much summarizes most of that property. Surrounding properties are in unincorporated Hardin County currently. The next zone map amendment is a zone map amendment from Hardin County R1 zone to a planned unit development PUD zone. And that's for the property located on the west side of North Dixie Highway between its intersection with W.A. Jenkins Road and Les Dawson Road, Kentucky 220. Heritage Meadows is requesting a zone map amendment for the portion of that property. It's 32.40 acres. It's in unincorporated Hardin County. Proposed rezoning is contingent upon it being annexed into the city. It's currently vacant. And surrounding properties are also in unincorporated Hardin County and City of Radcliffe. As was discussed, the City of Radcliffe has an adjoining property boundary to the south of that property. We'll move on to the next one. So the next zone map amendment is from Hardin County R1 to R6. And that's again for a portion of the property on the west side of North Dixie Highway between W.A. Jenkins and Les Dawson Road, Kentucky 220. Again, Heritage Meadows is requesting a zone map amendment for a portion of the property. The size of that property is 10.40 acres. It's currently in unincorporated Hardin County, and a proposed rezoning is contingent upon it being annexed into the City of Radcliffe. Surrounding properties are in unincorporated Hardin County. And the next zone map amendment is from Hardin County C2 zone to a PUD zone, and that's for a portion of property located on the west side of North Dixie Highway between its intersection with W.A. Jenkins Road and Les Dawson Road, Kentucky 220. Also a portion of 5571 North Dixie Highway and a portion of 5511 North Dixie Highway. Heritage Meadows LLC is requesting a zone map amendment for the portion of property, for all those portions of property as I just described. The properties are located in unincorporated Hardin County. Proposed rezoning is contingent upon those portions being annexed into the city of Radcliffe. The total acreage for those properties is 4.5 acres. Surrounding properties are located in unincorporated Hardin County and the city of Radcliffe. As kind of mentioned before with that larger tract, City of Radcliffe is to the south of that property. This would be the southwest corner of that property. And that is the last, this is the last one now here. Just want to make sure before I said it. This one's a zone map amendment from Hardin County R1 zone to a planned unit development zone, PUD. That's for a portion of property located on the west side of North Dixie Highway between its intersection with W.A. Jenkins Road and Les Dawson Road, Kentucky 220. Heritage Meadows, again, is requesting zone map amendment for the portion of that property. Property is located in unincorporated Hardin County, and the proposed rezoning is contingent upon it being annexed into the city of Radcliffe. The total size of that property is 638 square feet. Again, you can see it's like really hard to make out, but it's a sliver of property below the previous sliver. Even smaller, it looks even smaller than the previous one on the screen. Surrounding properties are all in unincorporated Hardin County.
All right. Any questions, council members? I know it's been a lot to kind of take in. Are you all familiar with where this property is? Just in case, it's the Hardin County Realtor Board. It's just right between the Aaron's and the cabinet shop. There is a development we've been working with for, what, 9-10 months, Murray? How long's it been going on?
Yeah, it's been
So they're
almost a
finally,
year.
yeah, they're finally deciding to move forward, so. If you wouldn't mind to keep this paperwork, to bring it to the next week's meeting, that way we don't have to reprint it. It will save a few trees if we do that, so. Any other questions for Murray? Anything? All right, Murray, you good?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Chance, you wanna? Next, we have some updates and some decisions to make regarding the Happy Valley Trail Tunnel Grant. And so, this is, Mr. Fox and I were talking earlier, and so it looks like we started this past, of course, we've been working on it for a little bit longer than this, but when initially it passed by the council was back in June 24th of 19. And as you can see there, the total project cost estimate, and then the federal and the state grant was at 80, and then our share was 20, which was 104,000. And then the summary, of course, goes on through and how many hiccups we had. Of course, COVID, price of everything kind of went up. We bid the project, came in higher, went back to the state, and so this has been ongoing. Then there've been some changes at the state level, and then we're kind of back at the table where we do have funding again. I'll let Chance go into a little bit better explanation, but we're kind of determining whether or not we want to spend the excess dollars that Mr. Fox is going to be bringing up, so.
I don't know if I'm going to do a better explanation.
You're going to do a lot better, I know.
But I think you just pretty
I
much
just
covered it.
summarized. But,
So, the bottom line, I think, at this point is, are we going to continue with this tunnel grant that's now been a part of our city budget for every bit of 4 years? These funds have been budgeted. Very little has been spent, only some of the design work. Obviously, we've never gotten to the construction phase. And so where we're at right now is this project, in speaking with the state, is going to have to be rebid again. And then, as you see on the summary, I think it's gone through, 3 bids, plus about 4 resolutions by the council that you all have approved. Because every time there's a new project cost that increases, the state requires a resolution that shows our commitment to the 20% and identifies their 80%. So The last resolution was June of '23, where we increased our cost to the levels that you see there on the summary. Basically identifies a project cost of about 1.22 million with 976,000 of state funds, which is 80%, and then our contribution of the 20% for that, which was about 244,000. Time has passed for all kinds of reasons again. Prices have not held. Those bids are only good for 60 to 90 days. And here we are in December, 6 months after, 7 months now, probably after that bid was open. So the contractor has material costs that have increased over time from when they actually went to go post bid to secure pricing, and the delays in the project, those prices have gone up. And the state will not allow those additional price increases to be done via a change order. And even if they do it via a change order, the state is not going to contribute any more money to this project. So we would be on the hook for whatever the change order amount was, which was estimated to be about $185,000 above the current project cost of $1.22 million. So the state says the project has to be rebid, which is why we're here. And I'm trying to outline a little bit on what our financial commitment to this new rebid may look like to determine whether we even want to rebid this project or whether we just want to say, you know, it's been 5 years. Our project cost 5 years ago was $104,000. I mean, the project cost was $522,000. Our contribution was $104,000. And now, based off of rough estimates on what this bid may come in at, we're looking at more of about a $430,000 commitment in a project that's probably around $1.4 million. The state did say there may be an additional bidder that may bid this project that did not bid the last time, based off what they're seeing on state bids that they have done for their own bids. But the reality is, it's been another 6 months, and based on these other cost increases that the contractor that got the winning bid from the city has identified, you're probably looking at, you know, 1.4 plus. So the question is, does the city want to commit to about $430,000 to this project? Because that, obviously the bids will determine the exact contribution, but the state is capped out at $976. So no matter what this bid comes in at, the state will not contribute more than $976. So we will be on the hook for the difference, and that's why I'm just proposing an estimate of around $430,000.
Yeah, and it could be more.
I doubt it's less, but it could.
Yeah. I didn't ask you this. Does that include anything that we were doing inside the cameras, the lighting, all that stuff, or is this is just the?
I think
Okay.
that would be separate.
That would be above and beyond.
This is project costs from the contractor. So I think some of the things we talked about, there were some estimates on that, 50, 60,000. That's all extra.
Yeah.
So the question then becomes, you know, off of a project cost that's going to go up, you know, can the city afford to do it or not? So, you know, we have sources of funds in a couple of different areas. It was easy to identify funds for our contribution, you know, 4 years ago, $105,000, because back then we had reserves of $500,000 to $600,000. We also, back then, were in the very preliminary stages of whether a North Loxton drainage project may or may not ever happen. Since then, there's also been discussion, I think, with Rose Creek project, with Vine Grove, whether that may or may not happen, and I spoke with the mayor about that earlier. So there is a potential cost to the city and for that project. So there's some ifs out there, because we don't know if that project is going to happen. Could, and if it does, maybe we may be around $400,000 to $500,000 on that project of our contribution and our share. The North Loxton drainage project, which actually was submitted in June of 2019, now 4.5 years ago, that project that was submitted, and FEMA just hasn't made a decision on that yet. That's why the time it's kind of out of our hands. I have called and asked for an update, and I'm waiting for them to call me back. They did not return my call to find out if there's any more current information. Maybe I hope to have some information on that before next week. But the project cost for the North Loxton back in June of 2019 was 2.468 million. Keeping in mind that is now 4.5 years ago. Odds are that project cost will not be the same today if it were to go to bid than it was then. There could be some savings in that project if it ever comes to fruition. It may be treated similarly than the FEMA project was here around the Quiggins area, where we were able to do some work in-house without hiring a contractor. We did it with in-house personnel, and we're able to reimburse ourselves by FEMA for the 87% of our own work, in-kind labor and in-kind equipment. So it kind of helped us, but we can't plan on that 100% for now. But if that project were to happen that way, we could have some savings. So back to sources of funds. If we look at a potential Rose Creek commitment, if we look at the tunnel potential of around $430,000, and if we look at North Loxton, if that project happens, keeping in mind that that estimate is now 4+ years old, you're looking at about $1,175,000 of city funds that would be committed to those projects. Now, we may save some of that by, like I say, with in-house work, but I think in planning for the worst case scenario, you're looking at $1,175,000. The amount of reserves that we have from city reserves and in lieu fee funds is just under $1.4 million. So there's about a $200,000 difference in funds available to potential project cost outlay. So if everything transpired the way it could transpire, then our reserves would go from 1.37 million potentially down to 200,000. So that is an item of concern. But there's also some variables in there that may or may not happen. So I felt like I needed at least to share that information so that we all know what we're looking at, because all this is contingent upon, do we go forward with this tunnel grant or not? And if we do, feel pretty confident that we're going to be $400,000 to $430,000 of city outlay for this project. And that's why I wanted to bring this forward for discussion, because if we don't do anything, the state's just sitting back, they're kind of waiting on us. They've committed the funds. I don't know what their timeline is for us to make a decision, but given how long it's been since the last bid opening of 7 months, we really need to make a decision.
No, we're just discussing.
Yep.
Just refresh my memory. I understand what you're saying about the tunnel project and dating back and our part and their part and waiting. I get that. But the Rose Creek and the North Loxton, is that also something that was going to be matched by the state as well?
The North Loxton
North
FEMA
Loxton
project, FEMA, their percentages are defined. It's 75% federal, 13 state, 12% local. So the 87% would be paid by state and federal on the North Loxton. The Rose Creek would be an in-house project. That has
Okay.
nothing to do with grant funds.
And those, okay, so, and we're still waiting to hear from the North Loxton, from the state side?
Correct.
and
We have
FEMA
not
side,
heard, we have not heard anything back on that
And
yet.
Rose Creek, that's still in our hands, right? Our
Mayor
control?
might be able to touch on it, but I think
That's,
it's between Radcliffe and Vine Grove,
And
and
Radcliffe,
some residents
okay.
that want to be annexed or don't want to be annexed.
Okay.
No, it has, we've got easements that they have to all agree upon, or the
Okay.
project can't move forward.
Okay.
And there's several of the residents that aren't agreeing to the easements.
Well, those are 3 projects using the same pot of monies.
Which
as
is
far as-
our available reserves,
Right,
correct?
right. And I know I've expressed this, and I think we're just discussing for today, we don't do, I don't remember exactly what the benefit was of taking that tunnel under there. I know there was something, for me, of a concern of safety anyway. Obviously, it made a little bit more sense when we were $100,000 out, now not $500,000, especially when we're already talking about other projects that we still want to fund, like expanding Colvin, if we're going to do different things to the city.
Well, that would be general,
side.
just to clarify, those would be general fund.
Oh,
That wouldn't
that's
have anything-
general fund,
We're talking
okay.
only stormwater funds.
Okay, okay.
So I should have clarified that, I'm sorry. When I said reserve funds, I'm talking about stormwater-related reserve funds.
Okay,
Because
well,
the
but
tunnel grant-
that's still our money, though, the reserve fund,
Still
right?
total city coffers, but when you
Right.
talk about doing things for Colvin, That
It's
would,
a
that's,
total
that has nothing to do with
project.
stormwater funds or stormwater reserves.
Okay, well, then for me personally, and if we're just discussing it, I think maybe for me, it's time to, like, put this one to bed. Because it's been forever, and I was never a big fan of the safety side of it. So, and then what's to say that whoever the contractor is, if we're always waiting on somebody else to move, then we're always gonna be doing this, it seems like, year after year after year, and I don't know, I'm just, Pam?
Yeah, Mayor, I think at one point we were considering backing away from this. But at that point, you were concerned about the fact that we had won the bid, that the state, would they look disfavorably upon us in future bids? At this point, considering that we're 4 times the original amount that we thought we were going to have vested, I would hope that they would not think that we are walking away from this lightly at this point. Your opinion on that?
Yeah, they,
That's a good point.
we did it twice ago, 2 times ago, I remember saying that. And then the last time we said, let's hit it one more time and see what we get, kind of in a sense. And so, again, the number came back elevated more than what we anticipated, or what the budget was set by the state for. And then now we're at an estimated, where they cap it at 976. So, you know, and I shared that with Chance earlier this afternoon, we were speaking. You know, if it comes in at 1.8 million, the city's gonna have to pick the difference up between the 976. So that 430 is gonna be even higher.
So do you think that they would understand at this point and not maybe?
I don't know if,
I mean, I think if the council and the city would decide to say, you know what,
No.
that's beyond the scope of what we wanted to contribute for this project, I think there'd be, if we had communication with the state, and I think a discussion with them would be relevant, obviously, and share those thoughts, I would assume that they would understand that, but
Albert, do you got anything, you have any insight you wanna share, or?
I don't think they would look down or unfavorably on the city.
He's one of our engineers, he's with QK4, he's been working on this project with us from the beginning, so.
If there was another project that you all wanted to grant for, maybe not.
Yeah, I think initially, if we would've gave up on the 100 or 200, could have probably seen, but now we're at the point where it's, and Albert's been working on this project with us for several years now, and so he's witnessed from the engineering side the increases and the headache that this thing has been, trying to get through the process. So there's been also a discussion to determine whether or not, so what Chance and I initially were talking about, just from the funding side, do we even consider bidding it to see what the numbers come in?
That was gonna be my question.
Or
Can we just
do
go
we-
ahead and bid it, see what the numbers is, and then decide?
Yep.
Because we might get lucky, you never know.
Well, we don't think it'll go down, so that's kind of what, Albert, do you have any input on that? I don't think it'll go down,
Just talking to David, possibly a third bidder
but,
might drive it down.
yeah. But that would be the only thing, so we know it's estimated probably at least gonna be at the 400, 1,000. So we just have to determine whether or not we want to commit that. If the consensus is, we don't think that it's
But
worth
if we don't,
proceeding.
and then years down the road, we decide to, it's gonna just be even more expensive.
Yeah, I'd say this would probably not be in our future to ever put one in.
At the increasing expense, I'm not in favor of going that. I mean, I was never in favor of it to begin with.
Yep.
The vote was taken prior to my tenure on the
Mine
council.
too.
And so with this increased amount, I would not be in favor.
I would like to at least see the bid.
Okay. Anybody else? Jerry?
No, I don't think the cost to benefit ratio is worth it.
What was the benefit of the walking trail tunnel?
So there's a connectivity portion of the trails, so you have the Quiggins Basin side that would connect to the Wilson Road side, to the Turner Basin, and then to the alternate basin. And I think it was just to connect those as what the plan was back then. It gives you a safer path underneath Dixie, in a sense. Yep. That was the idea behind it. Ms. Morrow, any thoughts?
I think those are all good points. I think thank you, Pam, for bringing that up too, because that was a concern of yours, Mayor, that if we just said we were not gonna move forward, then would we be looked upon, unfavorably, which he doesn't think we will, and you don't think we
No,
will.
I don't think we will at this price point. I think we would have at the
Your
100 or
point's valid,
200.
too, taking a bid and seeing where we are, and then saying, now we're not gonna do it. So we've got those options, but, it doesn't look like it's
Yeah, it's-
practical or feasible.
If it comes in, I mean, it's almost getting to where it's almost a 50-50 split, I don't know, percentages wise. I mean, depending on how high it comes in. Because it's still 1.4 million.
I think my concern is not so much as cost, we know things are going up, but, and I probably wouldn't invest in it looking at the return on it, but looking more into the green space that would draw people there to walk from side to side to start with. So if we met people where they were, and you look at where the stormwater drainage is, the Quiggins Basin on Centennial and Wilson, and then having to cross over publicly on the top, if you will, across the street to go to Wilson, which I'm probably on either end of those. If we can enhance, as I've been asking for, a sign of some sort to identify that that's a nice place to walk, because it is, and ride and run, and people walk their dogs and all of that. Eventually, if there's an opportunity to have a tunnel to connect them, then they would be connected with great green space where people would come there versus sort of going past it as a corridor and looking out their side of their window. So if we had a sign with the little lighting that identified it, so we're not trying to triangulate and say it's over there next to the so-and-so by the street round the corner. Because I know churches use it now, a lot of neighborhoods use it now. Normally they're cleaning up. Give it an identity. We have a lot of natural habitat that's there and normal flora, things that grow there that people could learn and see as they're walking along, give it a safer look without investing $300,000 on the. This is almost like on the back end. If no one's going to use it, it can become a unsafe harbor, if you will, and we start having problems of people just tearing it up, and it's losing its look versus in kind of investing in the look first, which costs considerably less than what we're doing now. So if we ever get to that opportunity again to build a connector underneath, then it will be used safely. But right now, I wouldn't do the tunnel. I would invest in that green space, and I'm sure we would spend a lot less than what we're looking at now for a bigger bang. That's all.
Kim, you got anything other than, do you think we ought to bid it?
I have one more.
I think we ought to bid it, see what happens. If we think if it still comes in high, then we'll just say no. We vote something else.
This might, maybe you can answer this, and this may be like way out of range, but has there ever been the thought or a price, does it cost a lot more to build a bridge over 31W with the gate? You know how you can build the fence over top of a bridge and you can walk across it? Does that cost a lot more than going under it? It does cost a lot more? Okay.
Yeah, there was issues, we ran into issues on the last one with the concrete coming out of Indiana, and it wasn't certified, and because there was nobody in Kentucky that was making the molds, because they were all back behind, like all running out, what do you call it, the supply was low. And then I think IDOT, I don't know if Kentucky, I can't remember what it was, but they didn't certify the one coming out of Indiana as a safe, or could be used in Kentucky or something to that effect, I can't remember.
That plan had not gone through the certification process in the 6-month process.
Yeah. So there's just a number of different things that's really caused this project to, I don't know if I gave you an answer to that, Chance.
Well, I mean, I don't know, I don't even know if this is a item that you want at a council meeting to be voted on as a matter of record. I mean, it's a budgeted item that we budgeted for that we wouldn't spend money on, but it sounds like there's not a whole lot of support to continue.
I don't know if we have to have it on a, because even though it's a budget, we just don't spend it. We don't.
I mean, it's a budget item, you just, I assume that it's money that goes unspent. Now, whether or not, as a matter of official record, you want it to be.
No, I'll probably, I mean, we have items on the budget all the time that we don't spend. I'll probably just reach out to Albert, and him and I'll discuss what the bid process may look like and how long that may take. And then if we don't bid it, we'll just
I'll just- Yeah, we'll just notify the state that we're just not gonna proceed forward with it. And we'll use the money for the RPT grant or try to get the money for something else. So, I think that'll be fine.
The bid process will be like what it was before. For example, if you did it in January, the bids would probably come out in February. The contractor told me that you need a 3 to 4 month lead time to get the culvert, the tunnel, precast. And we have it set up that Dixie's closed for, one side of Dixie is closed for 7 days. The other
Yep.
side of Dixie is closed for 8 days. We gave them 3 days to switch the traffic. And then we're going to go a month after that. to
Restored.
clean up.
Yeah. So, all right. You're on the next one too, aren't you?
I think so.
I think that's why you're sitting there still. Usually you'd already left. All right. Next is our employee handbook. Of course, Chance and Ashley look at both of those, but Mr. Fox, you had a suggestion you wanted to make regarding the handbook?
Yeah, so the handbook obviously is only so good as we look at it, review it, make revisions, adjustments, that sort of thing. So back a couple of years ago, you know, we created the COVID policy and we added it to the handbook. And I think you have a copy of that. And that policy, we needed one because not only did we need it, everyone needed to address how they're going to handle COVID amongst employees that they have, and how do you want to administer time off? You know, do the employees use sick time? Do they get gifted days paid by their employer? A lot has transpired obviously since then. You know, we are not in the same position necessarily today as we were when this policy was adopted, so I thought it warranted some consideration. What I've done is I drafted this policy at the time that it was adopted, you know, by the council, so I thought it relevant that I bring it up. I would propose that the council look at that, and I've done some strike through and some underlines where we, at a minimum, would at least reduce the 5 days to 3 days. Again, the 5 days, that is paid for, that's consecutive days. So obviously, if someone contracted positive COVID test on a Friday, it's not 5 business days starting Monday, it's 5 consecutive days. So if you do have a positive test on Monday, you would be off all week, paid for by the city without the use of your own personal sick time. And that's the policy that's been in effect since it was adopted. I'm simply recommending that we reduce that to 3. Council may have a different wish and reduce it potentially to something other than that. But I thought at a minimum we would reduce it to 3. Obviously, I mean, COVID is still around, obviously, but not to the extent it was when we adopted this, when, you know, vaccinations were just coming out. So that would be my recommendation, is there's about 2 or 3 areas where we would reduce it from 5 to 3. And then the other item that I did not really address on here, but I really need to, and I would include it in a revision should the council want to approve it. That's the section there where it talks about, it's about halfway in the middle. It says if an employee takes a COVID vaccine or booster and has a negative side effect, they will be given 8 hours of paid time off without using their own personal sick time. That probably just needs to be completely stricken. There was a lot of uncertainty about these booster shots when they first came out. There was reports that people were having side effects from them. Not that they couldn't use their own sick time, but we decided at that point that we would treat that as a paid sick time off without the employee being impacted by their own personal use time. And I think at this point, just administratively, I'm not sure the last time I've even seen that. So I would recommend that we just eliminate that particular section.
Quick question. How do we know that 3 days if someone gets COVID, how do we know that 3 days is enough for them to?
Well, the CDC guidelines are still 5 days. That has not changed. However, the question is, at what point do employers contribute, and at what point does the employee contribute? Just like if they had pneumonia or flu, you know, they have to use their own personal sick time. That is a benefit that the city provides each employee, is sick time, so that if they do get sick, they get paid time off. And most employees do have sick time available for that purpose. I'm simply recommending that we reduce it to 3 there would still be 3 paid days by the city where the employee is not impacted. But if they did need to be off the additional amount of days, it would just fall back on their personal sick time.
How much sick time does an employee accrue?
Employees that are here for the first year, it's 2 hours of sick time per pay, so it's about 78 hours or 2 weeks. Then it doubles after the first year from 4 hours of sick pay to 13 days. So it's a fair amount.
So it's not like we're taking away too much.
And like I say, the council, I just thought it needed to be looked at, and that's my recommendation. Obviously, the council, you know, you may decide that's too favorable or otherwise, or not enough, or either way. I just thought we needed to bring it up just because a lot has transpired since we drafted the policy.
Any questions?
So we're gonna vote on this next. Will you
Yeah.
strike that out?
Yeah,
I
he'll
will,
give us-
and
yeah,
I'll
he'll
give
us
you
a clean
revised, yeah.
copy,
Okay.
Now, when you say the 3 days, what if they get it on a Friday? If that doesn't count for Saturday and Sunday, that. or
Correct.
if Monday-
Well, no, it's 3 consecutive days.
Okay.
So they don't get the benefit of, say, waiting till Monday. It's 3 consecutive days. And if it happens to be on a Saturday, Sunday, well, you may not have got the same benefit that if someone contracted it with a positive on a Tuesday.
Is that it? You want to stay for the next one?
What is the next one? I don't think it affects me, does it? But I'll be here.
All right, thank you, Chance. Mary, do y'all want to head out?
Thank you.
Oh, okay. I got you. We shoot fireworks off at the end of the meeting. All right. Next is the Vanoa property we surplused a couple months ago. You all should have the bids for those sitting in front of you. We had 3 bidders. We had Realty World put in a bid for $8,500. Had Goodman Land put in for $2,000, and we had Philip and Barbara Johnson. They put in $1,577. And so obviously on this case, we take the higher of the bids. And it looks like Realty World at $8,500.
Is that the empty property that where you.
Across from you, yeah. Yep. We had a sale sign on it, and we advertised it. Any questions regarding that, or y'all good for a vote on that one? All right, we'll put that on the agenda. All right, and the last thing we have on here is the holiday schedule 2024. Should be everything on there, same as last year, Ashley. I don't believe there's anything updated.
No, sir, nothing's changed out of the employee policies handbook.
Any questions regarding that?
Mayor, may I make a comment
Yes,
on this?
yes, sir.
Years ago, I worked for the railroad, Norfolk and Western in northern Ohio. And one of the benefits they offered was a birthday vacation time. I've always thought that was a great idea. And having been around our super employees for this past year, I can really see, I mean, these guys have been above and beyond. So I'd like to maybe have our council discuss the possibility of giving an extra day for their birthdays.
It's there. It's on here.
I knew that. I would just make sense if you guys are paying attention. Thank you.
I didn't want to.
I swear to goodness. I mentioned that before, but I didn't know it
I didn't have
actually
the,
take
I didn't
it
have the
up.
heart, Jerry, to jump in there right and cut you off.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, sir.
We'll have
Can't
that
believe
bolt.
that. I am so embarrassed.
You can have credit for it,
Yeah.
Jerry.
Hey, Carl said just add another one. He'll be good.
Thank you, guys. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Jerry. All right. Thanksgiving Day's on there too, Jerry.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. All right. With that, Jerry, I'll let you start mayor council comments.
Well, just wanted to wish, I know we're going to be back next week, but thinking about the holidays, I just hope everybody has a warm and wonderful Christmas and a safe and happy New Year.
Thank you, Jerry. Mr. Rhodes?
Well, I was going to ditto those same remarks, so I won't say it again.
Same.
Huh?
Have a great meeting.
Ms. Merle?
This Friday at 306 North Wilson Road is a ribbon cutting for the Radcliffe Small Business Alliance. That's for the Toastmasters. That is this Friday at noon. If you'd like to attend that or be part of the Toastmasters Club.
Is that it?
I agree with happy holidays to everybody and hope everybody have safe holidays. But also I recommend flu shots and pneumonia shots because the group that I went to the Bahamas with, there were 17 of us. Half of us came back with the flu. Not a good thing.
All right, thank you.
Can I
Yes.
jump back in there? And
Yes.
I do want to mention something that we had a ribbon cutting for last week was a new kiosk that we installed at, what are we calling our
Resource
center?
Center.
Resource Center.
The Resource Center. So for those folks who know somebody who might need a little assistance, we have a kiosk center station that was installed in the Resource Center that it's really nice and it's very, very user-friendly. So if people are looking for resources to help out with food, maybe some utilities or whatever those, clothing, whatever resources are available, that kiosk is a great place to go to see what resources our community has available to those that need a little assistance.
Free
So-
resources. They're
Free
all
resources, free resources. Thank you, Toshi. But I just wanted to point that out because that was something that was provided by the Radcliffe Small Business Alliance Association. We had a gala in January of 2023. The fundraising that we did for that allowed for the installation of that kiosk. So I just would like to see our community really look at maybe taking advantage of that as much as possible. So, sorry.
No, you're good, thank you. Just want to mention, I want to thank Tim and his staff for putting on the Christmas decorations over the last 2 weeks, Saunders Springs, as well as Christmas, or Colvin Community Center, Christmas at the Cabins. I'll get it out. The Forestry Board, want to thank them. I'm trying to think anything else we got coming up, Ashley. Oh, our next council meeting, our regularly scheduled council meeting is going to be back at Colvin. We do that every year, you know, in the tree room. And so that'll be a special call meeting at 5:30 next week. So I think there's anything else we have on there. I think that was it. And then Jake, I want to thank him and his team because I know he hates it, but Red Mar's really coming along. We're waiting on dumpsters right now. And we finished filling things up, so it's been a lot of work going on, but it's looking good, and a lot of people are seeing a completely different area of the north end. So we appreciate it, Jake. Do want to give you your free time back there. You look at him; he's embarrassed right now. He ain't a man of many words. He can't. But no, thank you. All right, next meeting back at Colvin Community Center, 5:30, special call meeting. We'll do our Christmas back there. And then, of course, everybody got to meet Chris. He's our new senior planner working with Murray. I know Terry and Kim got to come in late, but
Mayor, any word yet from the county clerk about when we might be getting offices here in Radcliffe?
he is negotiating a contract is all I know right now.
Okay.
He's pretty tight-lipped about it, so I don't want to spoil it all, but I think
Okay.
he's getting a contract worked out, and hopefully he'll get that announced for the first of the year. Hopefully, we'll see.
Okay.
Yep. What was that? Somebody said?
The I just saw the chief go by about the fire truck and the Santa. Can you
Oh, yeah.
thank him for that?
Jamie, you still out there?
I saw him sneak by.
There he is. There he is. Fire truck. Everybody's enjoying that. Everybody's having a good time. Weather had been awful
Santa and the fire truck.
one night, so doing
Thank
good.
you.
And I'm sorry I missed the Christmas
Thank
part. I had to. I was like, Barbara called me. Hey, this first thing. Where's Atlas? So, but no, everybody's enjoying that, and so we appreciate it, and thank everybody's volunteering to help make that happen. So.
We're good.
Riding an elf.
We're good.
She's
I
riding an
tried that
elf.
last year. I won't do it again.
All right. All right. With that, we don't need a motion to adjourn, so we will see you all back at Colvin next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Sit here.
Yeah, I do know.